What's going on? It's Alex coming back at you with another video, and today we are doing an Indianapolis Colts 7-round 2025 NFL mock draft. If you are new, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. We just breached 16K, so that is extremely awesome. Thank you so much for that. We've been going and hanging out with a lot of different people, so maybe you've been following me over on Bring the Juice of those boys over there, Cody, as well as Derek. Love you guys. Thank you again for having me on. We did a 2025 mock draft on there as well, so feel free to go check that out. And you guys requested a late night drop. I ended up celebrating my dad's birthday today with him, so it's 10 p.m. But you guys ended up requesting it on Twitter for me to drop it tonight. Not the best for the algorithm, but at the end of the day, these videos don't really garner much in terms of viewage. So I do this because you guys appreciate it. It builds up my understanding of the draft, and we get to start talking about some guys that I don't get to talk to about in the majority of my videos. So I'm super excited for this. Let's hop in, and this is a live mock draft. Of course, below my face of my board is completely transparent. It is not predictive. Remember, the players who go in the top 32 are not always the 32 best players in the class. So take it with a grain of salt. Everybody's going to have the guys they love. I'm just willing to put an unadulterated, completely transparent opinion out there. So, number 14 overall, we get the Indianapolis Colts. No shit, Sherlock. That's exactly what we're doing here. I'm now in mock draft mode still. But at number 14, let's take a quick peek over at our lads so that we can end up understanding the depth chart. By the way, if you guys I ended up not giving the cookies, so if you guys see some random ads in here, I promise you it's not based on my search history. I do not need nor do I ever want a Ford Maverick truck, but no disrespect to those of y'all who have them. But regardless, football. We need to start talking about some things here. Looking at the receiving core, I love what you guys have built here. Josh Downs, love him. Michael Pittman Jr., former high school teammate. Technically not. He graduated a year before I was actually on the high school squad. So I would say he ended up helping us out at 7-on-7s. But regardless, Oaks Christian Lion, former alumni of the same school, so super hyped up there. Love Michael. And then you got Alec Pierce and A.D. Mitchell. Talk about a great group. And then Anthony Gold as well. Loved him last year. For those of y'all who knew Prilosec, their ad money is now going to be able to be expanded for free. But offensive line-wise, we have a couple guys coming up for a contract. I do think Matt Goncalves as well. Is it Goncalves? I can't pronounce it. Please feel free to correct me. I'm more than happy to pronounce it right. But the pronunciation is not my forte. Tanner Bortolini as well. I personally think that's going to be solid there, and we should end up fortifying the reinforcements rather than necessarily prioritizing, because I did see Armand Membu in, I believe, DJ's mock 1.0. Regardless, tight end wise, I think that we could absolutely upgrade. It's kind of the talk is that Jelani Woods, supposed to be the phenom, has not been healthy. Anthony Richardson, I personally hold out hope for the guy. The dude had 13 starts in college. You got to be patient with the dude, and unfortunately, the NFL is not a very patient place. Not for long is the old way people used to talk about the acronym. But running back wise, an RB2 is absolutely in play as well. Defensively, defensive interior could be on the market. You could upgrade in there, but I also do think that edge rusher, like a legit edge 2, is going to be certainly something to target in a very deep edge class. Will linebacker, definitely could be talking about it. Don't know if your guys are going to retain EJ Speed, but if you do, awesome. If you don't, you've been sniping these dudes on day 3 all day long. Good job on Jalen Charlies as well. Honestly, he had a really solid year. But corner-wise, a boundary corner 1 is super key. I love Brents, and Jalen Jones was a huge my guy. Ended up being a top 64 player, slipped to the 7th round. And, I think he's a true corner 2. I think Brents is a hybrid 2-3. And so I'd prefer to address that and then get one more safety. So let's see what we can do. Of course, free agency is going to change this. We're going to be doing this after free agency as well. But based on the players who did fall to us, we got screwed over by the Cowboys by not getting Tyler Warren. However, we're going to make the most out of it. Will Johnson is sitting here, and he is my number 1 player in the class. Of course, medicals have to check out with him, but you'd have to see what his top speed or his 40-yard dash is as well, because a lot of people don't have a lot of faith in his athleticism. I personally didn't see it as that big of an issue. He's big, he's physical, he also fits with the Juju Brents and Jalen Jones style, and even though Lou necessarily doesn't fit that style as much as maybe the previous regime has, I personally think that Will Johnson is too good to pass up at this point. You could talk about Ashton Genty, but again, I don't really want to be that guy who continues to press Ashton Genty to spots that I don't think he needs to go. Ashton Genty deserves to be an RB1 and not try to carve out a role. So we're going to go Will Johnson there at 14. At number 45, This might be where I deploy Jahad Campbell, but this is something that I've recognized with the simulator. It does not do a good job at this, in my opinion. And, having guys like Jahad Campbell slip to this point when currently he's at number 12 on their big board. They haven't updated their big board on their mock draft simulator the way they should. So I'm going to respect their board and have Jahad Campbell essentially nullified at this pick. If he somehow slips here, it's an amazing move. The last time you took a linebacker in the second probably has been your best linebacker that you've had in a hot minute. So wouldn't be a bad idea, but again, out of respect for the current PFF board and out of realism as well, as he is my number 19 player in the class, I am going to avoid going after Jahad Campbell here at 45. Again, out of respect for the board. Tyler Booker absolutely is on the short list of guys I'd go after. I did end up addressing him in a very recent, taking him in a very recent mock draft. So other positions we could target, again, recently you've been focusing day 3 on the linebacking position, and to be fair, I really like the idea of maybe a Jay Higgins as somebody that you end up selecting Danny Stutzman as that day 3 linebacker support. And personally, I would try to snag somebody in free agency because there's a lot of will linebackers that are up for contracts. So certainly you have that option. Tight end wise, at pick 80, I feel very confident with the guys who are going to be left on the board. I do not feel pressed in any way, shape, or form to take a tight end right now. Safety-wise, Nick Eamon-Warry, I've already taken him multiple times in this series, but I still think, honestly, it's not a bad move, especially since we're going to be taking him much higher than what he's projected at the moment. I think this is ridiculous, and I know Trev's even talked about it. He hasn't gotten to the defensive backs yet to fully update him. Nick Eamon-Warry will easily be in this range, so I think out of respect for, again, similarly what I'm talking about with Jahad Campbell here, I'm going to have some respect for Nick Eamon-Warry and say that this team needs to focus very heavily on that defensive back group more than anything, because for Lou, getting him someone who has both size and ball skills over the middle, having that deep threat with Nick Eamon-Warry is going to be super duper key. Jesse Bates was kind of that way in the past, and I could see Nick Eamon-Warry really stepping up into that role. 6'3", 230, going to be flying. He's going to be a potential first-round pick. He's going to be insane at the combine. So out of respect for him, I will be taking him here at 45. Again, Jahad Campbell would have been the best move, but I am respecting their current board. At number 80 for the Indianapolis Colts, again, this is the whole entire episode, Alex. Lock the fuck in, bro. At number 80, I do think we could look at that edge 2 position. You do have some really solid players here. Shout out to Braden Swinson. He is now number 48 on their board. But I'd be looking at someone like Femi Oladejo to pair back up with his former teammate, which I think Femi should be probably around this range, but we'll snipe him at 115. I feel very comfortable with that. Again, tight end I think is going to be the move here in the third. We need to start addressing the offensive side of the ball. And Elijah Arroyo absolutely should be on the list. Mason Taylor, Harold Fannin. I'm going to let you guys choose which one you want. I've already chosen Harold Fannin so many times that I don't think it's going to be the right move. The only reason Elijah Arroyo either A is here or B slips past this point is because he's had some knee issues. He ended up getting another knee injury during the Senior Bowl. He was out, had some issues with reliability in 2022 and 2023 due to an ACL tear. So there is some concern there. We'll see if that ends up coming to fruition. But bottom line, take any of these 4 tight ends, and I honestly think each one of them could be a massive impact on the offense there. So Elijah Arroyo going to be the selection there. Again, quick little recap of what we did. We got our star tight end, and then we got 2 key defensive backs. At number 115, I was talking about this earlier. Technically, we could have played the game and gotten Terrence Ferguson here, but out of respect for Olafemi Oladejo, the best run defending edge at 6'3", 261 pounds, and coming off as a legit day 2 prospect, I don't think that we can disrespect him any further. I think this team needs a legitimate edge 2, especially one that's reliable and a great run defender. To me, Femi is the best run defender in the entire class at edge rusher. Hot take, but he's a former linebacker of 2 years. You can go look at the statistics. Pretty much was that for that year. I can't do math on the top of my head, but I think that's a 90% off-ball ratio. And then pretty much like very similar, I think it's like 85% in the year before. And then all of a sudden he's a true edge this year for the first time. And the thing I love the most is he progressed even more in the offseason. And as the Senior Bowl came about, he looked so much better. I would not be surprised to see him taken on day 2 or even round 2. If you end up telling me like, hey, I'm from the future, round 2, he gets taken, I would not be too surprised. But at 151, I'm looking pretty heavily here at Trevor Etienne. Again, looking at what we've already done, we've been very defensively focused for Lou's defense and getting him some big assets. But I do think we need to start looking a little bit more into this, into the offensive side of things and helping out Anthony Richardson. Trevor Etienne could be gone in the first 100 picks. But besides that, looking at the offensive linemen available, Jonah Monheim's great. Emory Jones have been taking him way too much. But a Johnny Cornelius, Miles Frazier, Jackson Slater, I think these guys are incredible. Logan Brown, like, talk about excellent value. Well, you have Matt Goncalves. You also have Tanner Bortolini, who can end up stepping into legitimate high-end roles. I love that. And again, we need that RB2 presence. Trevor Etienne is phenomenal. He was my RB1 coming into the year. Again, that was coming off a big fumble year for Ashton Genty, and then he ended up taking even a bigger step up this year. Still has that fumbling issue, but I digress. Trevor Etienne was my draft darling coming into the year. Ended up having a little bit of a colder start to pretty much almost end of the season, but finished off as he got healthy and and ended up taking on the Senior Bowl and was like full force, and I love it to death. At 188, again, we've already addressed some firepower on the offensive side. I think getting some flexibility is super duper key as well. I really like the value of Jonah Monheim here, who has literally played every position, I think, except left guard. In the past 3 years, he played every position except left guard for a minimum of 300 snaps, and most of them for over 700. That flexibility for someone who could be a backup player is impeccable. And then you also talk about that very similarly with Miles Frazier, who's played both guard spots and even some right tackle reps, even in the Senior Bowl. I love Miles Frazier. You guys can absolutely go that route, but based on the athletic profile that you guys look for, you look at Goncalves, you look at Tanner Bortolini, Jonah Monheim is right up there. Shout out to Jackson Slater as well. You guys can take either of those guys, but I'm going to be going after Jonah Monheim here. And finally, we are at 233. It's a small amount of picks, but it's definitely something that we're in a good spot, in my opinion. We're in a very good spot. So I'm looking at Jalen Walker here. I'm looking at Smile Munden as well for that will linebacker spot for depth. Again, taking one final peek at the depth chart. We've already addressed tight end. We've already addressed some interior offensive line by shifting two of our backups into starting roles and getting someone who's extremely flexible. We have already gone after we already talked about tight end, but we have not gone after a QB2. That's something you could easily do UDFA. Running back, we ended up getting our backup guy. Edge rusher, we ended up getting actually the teammate of Laiatu Latu. I don't think Kwity Paye's an edge one, FYI. For those of y'all probably like, dude, why are you talking about Kwity Paye but not Laiatu Latu? Latu, I think, is the true edge one. I think Kwity Paye is a rotational edge two, but I really want a legit edge two, and that's what I wanted with Femi Oladejo. Apologies for not saying that earlier. Defensive interior absolutely could be on the table, but with so many of them on the market as well. I'm forgetting which team I just recently did. I think it might have been the Dolphins with like 4 of them on up for free agency. There's going to be a good market for depth. And then you have Adi Tomiwa Adebawore there as well, who you could try to flex to the edge. Will linebacker, again, we might just snipe that right here. We've already addressed corner. We've already addressed safety as well. I think that we've actually done a killer job when I'm looking at, like, just patting myself on the back here a little bit, but I mean, honestly, I really love how this has played out. If you want to go Nick Martin, Shamar James actually is pretty fucking awesome in terms of value here. I really like it. He's 20 years old as well, and he's gotten a lot of praise from people, and I haven't taken him. So we're going to go after the 20-year-old to play our will linebacker spot, at least in terms of depth. So again, quick rewind. Defensive back-wise, we ended up taking it and just squashing any sort of doubt. Will Johnson, Nicky Manwari off the bat, killer duo. Then we have fixed up that offense in terms of firepower with Elijah Arroyo, who, yeah, he has some injury concerns, which might raise some red flags. Again, if you have some concerns with that, by all means, the other tight ends are there, whether it would be Ferguson, whether it would be Fannin. I just avoided Fannin because I've already taken him so many times. And then you could also talk about, there's another tight end there, Mason Taylor. So you can take any of those. So substitute with the guy that you would like the most, and feel free to comment that as well. We got ourselves a true edge 2 here. Again, I don't really fully believe in Kwity Paye as the long-term answer at edge 2, and it's also a former teammate of what you have in Laiatu Latu. Running back-wise, I talked about getting some firepower here, Etienne Arroyo, and then got some good depth here with Monheim, who's played every position, and then Shamar James. Overall, I actually really like it. Again, it would be pissy. Like, I did not draft Jihad Campbell for the reason of respect for reality and for you guys. If I took him there, it's kind of bullshit. We all know that he's not going to be there, which some of these guys are definitely not going to be there, but there's just a higher likelihood that they could slip by chance rather than, someone like Chad Campbell who's getting like top 10 love at the moment. So that's going to be the video. Thank you so much for watching. Love you. See you on the far side. Peace.